Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasasha, president of Middlesex Community College, right here in Middletown, Connecticut. And today I'm really pleased because my guest on this show is Ray Dennis, who was the progenitor, shall we say, of the Ophthalmic Design and Dispensing program, ODD, which, you know, if you spell it, everybody calls it ODD, but that's odd.
Well, that describes me pretty well.
So, Ray, let's start by just sort of describing briefly the program itself, because it's an unusual program, right?
Yes, it is. It's one of only 3 in New England, so it is somewhat unique. And we've been in existence since 1988, when I was hired here at Middlesex to come up and help get this thing going. And we at the time had one of our other professors, Professor Skip Rivard, who was working with a group of Connecticut opticians to convince the state that it was needed. And they were able to do so, and at that point they hired me. I was teaching at 2 colleges in New York City at the time. They hired me to come up and help put it all together.
Did you spend a year trying to put it together before you actually launched it?
Well, actually, I started in late May of '88, and we had a class starting in September. So
that was a summertime project.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to develop the entire curriculum that first semester. I only had to develop the first semester courses and filled in as we went. But it was important for us to have the program nationally accredited, which of course it is, and so we basically took the essentials for accreditation and worked backwards from that. Did
you have equipment at that point? You must have had some.
Well, actually, the state gave me some money, not nearly enough to buy some equipment for the program, but I was very fortunate to have friends in the business that were kind enough to allow me to go through their warehouse and pick out some things that they were no longer using that we still were able to utilize. So Sterling Optical in New York City had a warehouse that I went and visited and came back with a van full of stuff from. So
that must have been like being a kid in a candy shop.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. Did they do eyeglass frames as well?
Actually, they did, and they donated quite a few, as a matter of fact, along with a lot of lenses. We kind of live on donations around here, so
I know.
A lot of the frames and lenses that we have are donated by various frame and lens manufacturing companies, and those come in handy when we do our local Community Eye Care Day program and for the international work that we do as well.
We'll talk about that a little later. But I wanted to be sure everyone understands that we do not only eyeglasses, but also contact lenses.
Absolutely. That's an important part of both our training and our clinics as well. All licensed opticians in Connecticut are licensed to fit contact lenses, and we have a comprehensive multi-semester contact lens program. So we start with anatomy in the first semester, anatomy and physiology of the eye, and we have 3 consecutive contact lens courses.
Do you think that contact lenses are as popular as they used to be, or has eyewear just gotten so much more interesting that people wear glasses now?
I think it's not unusual for people to have both these days and interchange, so It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I've never put it. Have you put contact lenses in your own eyes? I guess you would have to.
Yeah, just a few times.
Just a few times. It's a little tricky, I know. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking some more about Ray Dennis, who's one of our professors here at Middlesex, and the OD. Okay, well, we're back, and this is Middlesex Moments radio show, and I'm talking with Ray Dennis today about all things related to eyes, eyewear, contact lenses, changes. You started here in 1988, which feels like a long time ago. I bet it does to you, too.
It was a long time ago.
So it's an accurate feeling. So what I was thinking we would talk about is the changes in changing from needing to go to an eye doctor and having a small, probably owner run eyeglass store to being able to get your glasses online if you wish. I mean, how did this happen?
That's a good question. Things have changed an awful lot, but at the same time, there's still a lot of mom and pop type optical businesses around, and they sell. I think for the most part, they're selling service and quality, which is something that they are not quite as likely to get in some of the corporate giants that are part of our market today, or certainly online. I think a lot of people that are purchasing their eyeglasses online are finding that they're not quite as happy as they thought they might be. And part of the reason is because of the fact that there are some fairly intricate measurements that we need to take that are dependent on a particular frame fitting a particular way So when you're fitting a progressive edition lens, which is a sophisticated lens for people that require a near vision correction as well as a separate distance vision correction, those more sophisticated lenses need to be fit very carefully, and it's not something you can do measuring yourself looking in a mirror. And so many people that have purchased, reading glasses over the web, sure, I don't see a major problem with that, but there are some problems relating to the proper positioning of those lenses relative to the position of the eye that we do have to be concerned about.
So what happens to somebody who's bought something online and it doesn't quite work?
Well, in many cases, they end up buying another pair of lenses for that frame. So the frame could probably be used, and in many cases, that's what's kind of spurring them to buy online. They see a particular frame they like, and they research it online and find the place they can get it the least expensively, and then purchase it from that company, not realizing that that might not be a good choice if they're also going to be getting their lenses from that company. So they might just take that finished pair of eyeglasses into a local optical business and have them replace the lenses with lenses that have been measured appropriately.
So part of this is fashion. Some of it's price, but some of it's fashion too.
Yes, it is. Certainly a lot of people are researching all of the products that they buy these days and looking at whether they can purchase them at a discount online. So it's not uncommon for people to walk into optical businesses with their frames and just simply ask them to put lenses in them. And I think most opticians are more than happy to do so.
Mm-hmm. Can you go through the kind of basic understanding? For me, it would be very helpful because I often get confused. Opticians, optometrists, there's a
Sure.
whole, yes.
Sure. Yeah. Certainly ophthalmologists, I think I probably should start with. They're an MD, of course. So they're an MD that has gone through a residency program in ophthalmology, and typically also will go through a fellowship of some kind where they're studying a particular part of ophthalmology. So they might be retinal specialists, or they might be corneal specialists, or they might specialize in glaucoma or some other specialty. So they go through the normal undergraduate study, medical school. They go through an internship, and then a residency in ophthalmology, and then a specialty of some kind. So that process is a process that can take up to 13 to 15 years to complete from start to finish. So they are surgeons, and they are able to treat anything related to the eye, and also, of course, are capable of and perform eye examinations. Next on the hitting list would be the optometrist. So the optometrist does usually an undergraduate degree in biological science and then goes on to a 4-year Doctor of Optometry program. So they get an OD, Oculus Doctoris. They're a doctor of the eyes, and they are able to do eyeglasses, contact lenses, and can do eye examinations, and they can treat the surface of the eye. So if there's a problem on the outer eye, they can treat that. They can treat glaucoma, but they need to stay away from the retina. That's the ophthalmologist territory, and they're not allowed to use lasers or do surgery. Next on the list would be opticians. Here in Connecticut, opticians are empowered to make and fit and dispense eyeglasses and contact lenses. There's 2 paths to becoming licensed. The first is they can do an on-the-job training, an apprenticeship. That requires the individual to work under the direct supervision of a licensed optician for a period of 8,000 hours. You can't complete more than 2,000 in a single year, so it would take a minimum of 4 years to complete that training. Or you can go through our Associate of Science degree program, which takes about 22 months from start to finish to complete. Our program is set up in a unique way that our students actually only have to be here 3 days a week, and as a result, most of them are working a substantial number of hours in local optical businesses. When I say local, I mean in the region, because, of course, our students come from all over the state of Connecticut and occasionally from our adjoining states, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. So in a 3-day week, in 22 months, they can complete a 68-credit Associate of Science degree. That meets the state of Connecticut's training requirement to become licensed. Whether they go through apprenticeship or the degree program, they would also need to take 2 national certification examinations. One's from the American Board of Opticianry, the ABO. The other is from the National Contact Lens Examiners, or NCLE. One is an optical exam, the other is a contact lens exam. And once they've passed those two and completed our degree or the apprenticeship, the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health administers a practical examination, which includes 3 parts: optical, contact lens, and a short test on their familiarity with state laws governing opticians. So the state wants to know that when they hand a license to someone, that they are well aware of their legal obligations, what they can and cannot legally do, and so they make it part of the examination process. Our students actually have opportunities in a lot of different practice settings. Some will work for large corporate businesses, the lens crafters and Walmart Vision Centers of the world, or they might be working for private optometrists, even though there's no legal requirement that a licensed optician be working in an optometric practice. Many optometrists have hired our students or former students to help run their optical businesses. And of course, others go to work in ophthalmology practices where they establish optical shops within their practice. So lots of options for our students, and I think that makes it an interesting career path for some of our students.
It does, and I'm sort of wondering, well, let's start with you. How in the world did you get interested in eyes?
Well, it started when I was 2.5 years old, and my mom noticed that one of my eyes was turning at late at night when I was tired. And after talking with the pediatrician suggested that my mom take me to an ophthalmologist in downtown Brooklyn. My mom told me that she took me by trolley car, which I guess most people probably haven't ever ridden on one, but I have. And we went into downtown Brooklyn. I was a kid in Brooklyn, and went to a local optical business called Badgley Shutt Opticians, and they made a couple pairs of glasses for me over the next couple of years, and then my dad decided to move our family out to Long Island and to a little community called Williston Park. And lo and behold, who lived directly across the street from us but our optician from Brooklyn. And as it turned out later, he was the program director of the first optical school in New York at New York City Community College. And when I was 21 years old and making my living driving a banana truck, he grabbed me on the street one day and convinced me to take a look at the program. So we went into Brooklyn, and I was smitten. He got me on that one. So about a month later, I started going to school. So.
Did you sort of fashion our program here at Middlesex, at least on your memory of what was going on at the City Community College of New York?
Yeah, I actually did. And in fact, what I did was I used the curriculum there and at the Interborough Institute in Manhattan, where I was teaching at. I was teaching at both at the same time. And I used that as a starting point, but what I like to tell people is I fixed the errors that they had made in their design. So
it's good to learn from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely,
right,
absolutely.
Right. And for our own students, do you have a sense of what it is that turns them on about the idea of being in the ODD program?
Well, I think one of the things is that there's good jobs out there for people, and when you can sit down and honestly tell a prospective student that there's a good likelihood that if they work hard and accomplish what we want them to, that they're not only going to find a good job, but they're going to have that even in rough times. I'm happy to say that back in 2008 and 2009, when we were in our fairly deep recession, that I don't know of any licensed opticians that were out of work for any substantial period of time. If they did lose a job because of cutbacks or something else, they were able to find another job as an optician, and it's kind of nice to be in that position.
It's really nice to be in that position. It reminds me of elastic and inelastic demand curves. I mean, everybody needs glasses, just like diabetics often need insulin, and it really doesn't matter what the price is or the availability of the product. If you need it, you need it. So.
And yeah, need is an important word, I think, because I might not go out and buy a new car because I want it, but if I need something, I'm much more likely to purchase it.
That's right. Well, we're going to have to take another break. This goes by so quickly. And when we come back, we'll keep talking about eyes. Well, we're into the home stretch on Middlesex Moments Radio Show. These programs, half an hour is just not enough time. Ray Dennis is my guest today, and we've been talking about optometry and ophthalmology and glasses and things like that. But I also wanted to spend some time talking about the work you've done in developing nations around diagnosing people for what kind of eyewear they need and then providing it for them. So, you've been in Africa, you've been in Latin America. You want to just pick any one of those regions of the world and tell me what you've been doing.
Oh, well, Africa was a very interesting experience last summer. But right now, actually, we're preparing for a trip to Ecuador. I have two students going with me this year, Justin Coriano and Gabriel Ortiz. Gabriel is about to graduate from the program and actually will be taking his licensing examination the day before he leaves. And he's very excited about getting that out of the way. Justin is going to complete our program next year, but the two will accompany me to, we're flying into Guayaquil and from there going to the eastern part of the country into a town called Macas. It's in an area they call El Oriente, the Orient, the East. So it's the area where the headwaters of the Amazon are, and we'll be doing eye exams and providing eyeglasses to needy people in that region, both adults and children. And after a couple days there, we'll be moving on to a city right kind of in the central highlands of the country, a city called Riobamba, where a clinic, Clínica Dulce Refugio, is being run to take care of the needs of the local indigenous population.
Will you be taking some equipment with you? Or?
We will. Actually, over the years, I've been able to purchase a variety of different kinds of pieces of equipment and tools that we can take with us when we travel through various grants that we have applied for and received. So we'll be taking that. And of course, the eye exam part of it is being done by doctors who will be accompanying us. I believe the eye doctors that you go to right here in Middletown, Middlesex Eye Physicians, one of their retired physicians, Dr. Elwin Schwartz, will be traveling with me, along with his wife, Cheryl, who I'm proud to say is a graduate of our Ophthalmic Design and Dispensing program and a licensed optician. Both Dr. Schwartz and his wife Cheryl are now retired, but have traveled with me in the past to Mexico, and Dr. Schwartz with me to Ecuador 2 years ago when we did the first clinic at that location. Since then, I have gotten some friends of mine from Vision Health International, a foundation based in Grand Junction, Colorado, to go there as well. On my first trip down there 2 years ago with Dr. Schwartz, we did exams on a little over 1,000 people and provided eyeglasses to about 600 of them, including about 300 children. Subsequent to our visit there, I actually continued on to northern Peru, where I was working with a group of ophthalmologists that were doing eye surgeries on children there. And when I got to Peru, I drove from Riobamba down to northern Peru, a city called Piura. And when we got there, I mentioned that I had just come from a first-time clinic in Ecuador, and they said, "We've been looking for a place to go in Ecuador." And I said, "Well, you got one." And subsequent to that, as a member of their board, I've convinced them to make several trips down to Riobamba, and now they are going 4 times this year. So they go down and do a screening, and they follow it with a group of ophthalmologists that go in and do surgeries to provide for the needs of anyone that's been identified in the screening. So they're doing an adult screening once a year, and a team goes in and does cataracts afterwards. And then they do children's screenings in the schools, and they follow that with pediatric ophthalmologists that will do strabismus surgeries and other types of surgeries on the youngsters. So
you have to translate
strabismus. That's actually when the child's eye turns to one side or the other and is unable to maintain a straight ahead view.
Is that similar to what you were experiencing at 2.5?
Similar, except that in this case, it's more likely that the eye is permanently turned in one direction, in or out, and will need to be corrected surgically.
Mm-hmm. And yours, you were able to correct with lenses.
Mine, I was able to correct the wandering of the eye, but not the vision. So I have, in addition to a slight tendency to turn, I have a lack of vision in my left eye. So with my best correction, I can't see the big E on the eye chart.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's okay.
So that's why you see the world so differently,
I
right?
do. That's right.
Well, you see, I mean, this is what was it in you that made you think, oh, what can I do with my skills to make the world a better place? I mean, this is remarkable, the impact you've had on these communities.
Well, I guess it probably comes from my interest in doing what I can to help others, like my parents did. I had both a mom and a dad that were incredibly giving people, and they help people whenever they can by volunteering their time and effort and making contributions in a financial way. And so I guess it's just something that I got from them, helping where I could. And I have a particular set of skills that are beneficial to people anywhere. And given the fact that God gave me those skills, I think I have a responsibility to share them when I can.
Yeah, I think it's just so admirable. You know, they talk about the greatest generation, the World War II generation, having a real strong sense that they needed to give back because this country gave to them with the GI Bill and helping them to buy homes and getting them resettled after World War II. And we have to keep that tradition going, you know, so that everyone, I think, has a sense that they have whatever it is that they have, whatever skill set, they can help somebody else and make this whole world a better place.
Well, it was a remarkable generation. Unfortunately, we're in a position now where not a whole lot of those folks are still with us.
I know.
And, I think we need to honor them as much as we can.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was a poor kid from Brooklyn that never would have gone to college if not for the GI Bill. Was the first in his family to get an education. My mom was an 8th grade dropout who went on to complete her high school diploma when I was in high school, and then got an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's in social work. So they were remarkable people that also felt an obligation to help wherever they could.
Yeah, given the opportunity. That's the piece about being an opportunity society, you hope. But you give these people that you meet in Ecuador and Africa the opportunity to see. And that has got, I can't imagine operating without my own eyeglasses. So the sense of, wonder and transformation that I imagine you get to see with your own 2 eyes when you help people look through corrected lenses.
It's remarkable when you're there and give them a pair of eyeglasses for the first time and they're able to read their Bible for the first time in a number of years, or they're able to see their grandchild's face. We had a circumstance on our last trip to Riobamba where there was a young woman, 19 years old, living in a mountain village that we were visiting, who was helping other people, older people, to register for our clinic and wasn't doing so for herself. And I noticed that she was holding a cell phone literally about an inch from her eyes to be able to see it. And I suggested that she needed to have an examination, and she told me that she didn't think there was anything we could do to help her. And I used an automated device called an autorefractor to determine what her prescription was, and when I looked at the readout, I couldn't believe the numbers. It was 10 times as much nearsightedness or myopia as typically we'd find in a young person. And frankly, when I looked at the numbers, I just thought there was a mistake. And when we actually put those lenses into what we call a trial frame and stood her in front of an eye chart, she was able to read most of the way down the chart. And she started crying her eyes out, and so did I, for that matter, as did everyone else that happened to be there at the time. We were in this village that was overlooking an incredible valley, and in the background was a volcano called Chimborazo, which is 20,000 feet, and it's just a remarkably beautiful place. And well, frankly, she had never seen it, and she had lived in that village her entire life. And so we walked outside with those trial lenses on, and the tears started to flow again when she got to see the beauty of her surroundings for the first time. It was a pretty remarkable moment, and that one moment made that trip worthwhile. That's for sure. So,
it's an amazing story.
And to be able to take students with me to have similar experience, and as importantly, involving every student in our program in the process of making eyeglasses for those that need them, either glasses that we bring with us and give them. Or glasses that after the fact we custom make to meet a particular unusual prescription that we don't have with us.
So that's how you do it. You take some that are already kind of ready to go.
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of them are simple reading glasses that people can use to do sewing and knitting and other things that they need to do. I was amazed the first time I went to Riobamba. I didn't see anyone wearing eyeglasses, and now a whole lot of people are wearing eyeglasses. It's kind of nice.
You can measure the impact. Well, I'm sorry to say that this program is coming to a conclusion. But I think that our listeners might be interested to know that we do the Community Eye Care Day here once a year.
Actually, this year we're going to be doing it a second time.
Twice.
That's right. At the end of August, we're going to be partnering with Artists for World Peace, a Middletown-based foundation that I traveled to Tanzania with last summer, and we certainly think it's important to give back here locally as well.
So we should listeners should check their local newspapers or check the college website to find out about that?
I think we should have something posted within the next week or two.
Perfect. So anyone who's interested in finding out about Middlesex Community College can go to mxcc.edu, and our website will have some information about that shortly, right? Okay, so thank you so much for being with me today on this program, Ray, and for the incredible work you do, not only with our students, but with individuals around the world who are given the gift of sight because of you. Thank you.
Welcome. My pleasure.